Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're gonna talk about Facebook Metaverse. So let's dive right into it. So let's first understand the idea behind this. Well, reality is Facebook is suffering from an image crisis, meaning if you take any Tom, Dick and Harry on the street, it's like, dude, tell me about Facebook. Very few of them will have anything positive to say about it. Most of them will have bad things to say about it. And that really matters if your company is directly dependent on stock market. Reputation matters a lot. There is a reason why Apple is at $2 trillion mark. So they wanted to create a new brand image and they are trying to create a gamble. Now that gamble is that next stage of social media, meaning right now what we have social media, assume it like a network 2.0. What we'll have in network 3.0 is a virtual space. Now what can you do in virtual space? Well, reality is they are trying to push it in such a way that you can live in that virtual space. Live as in like you do not need to basically take out your virtual goggles unless you want to pee, poop or take a shower, things of that nature. Basically you can do your work, your leisure, everything in between in VR itself. So basically attend conferences, make up your avatar, basically attend classes, school, everything, basically every Tom, Dick and Harry things. And not to mention it has got a lot of boost and lot of credence simply because of 2020 pandemic. And after that people realize like a lot of work can be quote unquote done from remote. All of those can be done here, and they're gonna provide you with two spaces. Space one, that is your personal space, meaning you will not be overwhelmed there. It will be like, okay, this is my place, and you will control it, you will curate it, and that will be your quote unquote personal home. And then you're gonna have a global space where you're gonna go YOLO and interact with other people, and you can control how it plays out, so to say, and everybody will get their avatar. Now be mindful, the avatar right now is very VU level kind of avatar, but they want to push it to a point where in next generation, meaning the next hardware they're going to release in next 2-3 years, they're going to have a facial scanning function where the character rig that has that facial model will have a lot of minute details and a lot of rigging data. Utilizing that, they can give animation, meaning if you are frowning, or if you have facial expression, all these sorts of facial expressions should translate into your emoji character. And the reality behind, idea behind is that we are not that in tune with our own subconscious, quote unquote. Think of this way, like our primary consciousness is acting as a main system, and there is a subsystem, or you can call it in computer processor word instruction set architecture. That subconscious is studying the person. If you are talking to a person to person, even in a video conference, you are trying to study their face, and that face gives you a lot more feedback than you think. You're like, okay, audio tone and all that, that's one step. Then you also have how their eyes are moving, how their faces are moving, how they are each of the motions, they translate to a lot. And ask any character artist, that's a very important thing to get right. So they want to do that, so where you will have real face to face. And if they actually crack it, yes, people will forget that they are looking at an avatar, because it will take care of your subconscious. So your consciousness will be focusing on what it's supposed to listen, and your subconscious is yeah, good to go. It's creating a data bandwidth where you're okay, this is the emotional state. You may forget, especially after 2-3 hours, you may forget how people get immersed into video game. If this turns out to be true, it can really map face and properly project it into an emoji. Yikes, that would be god tier level, so to say. Now, why Facebook is doing it? Because this is an expensive move. Well, reality is Facebook got left behind. Now, Facebook was a big deal. Most people have no idea how big it was on its biggest day. It was on a different level. Basically, every other thing was below it. However, Apple and Android, both of them surpassed it to a point where not only their business evaluation is not that high, they are actually looking they are slowing down and falling backwards, comparatively speaking. Think of this, Apple crossed $2 trillion mark, so that's a significant bit slap, so to say. And Android is also very important, as in most people have Android. They have Android, then they either think about whether we want Facebook or not. So that is a very significant loss of quote unquote confidence or growth, however you want to look at it. And reality is more and more people are ditching this sort of system, basically giant Facebook kind of infrastructure, and they want to go into smaller control group. For example, Reddit, for example, Telegram, for example, WhatsApp and Instagram. So idea is basically most people have learned this the hard way, and who are very capable of thankful and lucky enough, they realize Facebook is not good for you. Flat out, it's not good for you. It only sets you on fire. It's it's really not good for you in human psychology. So they're yeah, let's try to remove 300-700 friends. Let's focus on few people that matter. So that's why Facebook needs to do something, because they are noticing that enough people are starting to leave. Right now it's becoming a trend, and if the trend becomes self-fulfilling, because you will leave Facebook if enough of your friends leave. So it's one of those things where the Facebook is taking this very seriously. So that poor reputation and the burnout that Facebook is causing is very significant for their bank accounts, and it should also allow them to bypass regulation. Like, how the heck it will allow bypass? Basically, think of this way: whenever you are creating a court document, it has to be precise, as in absolutely precise, meaning name change also needs to go through a complete evaluation process. So let's say any company or European Union or US government, they are like trying to file a case into a judiciary system, they have to create a whole paperwork. I think they will take at least few months to 2-3 years just to redo the whole system, because now they have to calibrate, properly process the how the heck Verse is gonna do. So it could allow them few years of time to bypass regulation. Basically, it's like, hey dude, Facebook, we are not Facebook anymore, so you have to redo the whole thing. So you may think like that should not translate to that much. It translates to a lot, and I'm pretty sure there are more than enough lawyers sitting in the Facebook headquarters who's like, I think this is a very interesting loophole here, we can exploit this. So that's why they are doing it. It is serious. So what's the tool they're going to utilize for this sort of VR environment? Well, first, they're working on high-end AR equipments and VR also, and the idea is that they're going to have their own lineup of multiple grades of basically VR and AR equipments. And right now they know for a fact that what they want to do is not going to happen flat out. There is not enough equipment. Even they sold like 10 million of VR headsets. Now that may sound big number. That's like almost flop mobile phone models. That's why I said, like, Apple and Android, both of the heck, remove Android, Samsung has sold more than that. So that is a very significant reality check code for them. So they know for a fact that they need multiple generation before they become good enough and cheap enough and robust enough, like smartphones, that every Tom, Dick and Harry is gonna have. Right now they are aiming for console level sales, as in 300 to 400 million sales, but like billions of sale. They know for a fact that even though they want it, they're not going to achieve it anytime soon. So they are planning for that, like multiple stages. Like, they will become a hardware company that's going to slowly work at that, chip away at that. Then we're going to need high speed, high quality net connection. Now thankfully other companies are working on it. For example, even in India, even in a small town like mine, I'm getting around 150 Mbps, and I can pay for upwards of 1 Gbps without any issue. Only problem is, like, my data cap is a bit limited. My data cap is only around 3.2 terabytes, so there is no use of getting very high speed. Like, 150 is more than good enough for me. So, and I do have multiple people utilizing streaming, 3 people streaming continuously, so you do need a bit of bandwidth. So high speed net connection has been already sorted, so they can actually think about it. And after pandemic, the net connection literally went, like, the amount of people who had okay kind of net connection to like proper fiber connection went up drastically. So that part has been taken care of. And then you are talking about software backbone. Now you have to understand, thinking in this way, where you're gonna have a 3D space, making a 3D space as a game artist, let me tell you, it's complicated. The amount of geometry you have to manage, like, think of this way, the geometry that you have to manage for something as simple as Call of Duty Mobile, or something as simple as Firefly, those take insane amount of time to make. And when you want to do it procedurally generated, and when you want to be huge, as in like hundreds of square kilometer, now you're like, why I'm talking about dimensions? There has to be real world dimensions in that. Trust me, it's there, always there. And only then they can reliably have character populated. Otherwise it will not make sense. So that will take significant amount of game engine development, significant of processing power. So they need to develop the backbone, which they are working on right now. And they need new and powerful SDK, because they learned it from experience, quote unquote, is that other people should use your services, otherwise there is no point here. Now, to make sure other people can use it, they are making sure they are integrating cryptocurrency properly, they are integrating NFTs properly, all those sort of things. All the new buzzword, basically they want to integrate it properly. So every other Tom, Dick and Harry, if they want to do something inside the metaverse, they have proper SDK, software development kit. And whole pipeline and setup is a complete package. This is what Facebook is spending their money on. It's like, what are they doing? They are building the whole pipeline, meaning from the hardware to networking side to software backbone to SDK for third parties. All of that is being taken care of Facebook. This is what Facebook is going to spend their next 2-3 years of fortune, so to say. So what are the promising things? They are like, look, if we are doing this, what are the promises? They're gonna keep it, quote unquote, open, meaning other company can also join in. For example, Microsoft, they are also developing their own virtual environment, and they have some seriously powerful equipment wise they are far ahead of basically this puppy, Facebook. So they have that. And other companies, like for example Nvidia, they can create virtual worlds much more efficiently. Again, graphics company, so they know that part. So fundamentally, a lot of companies are trying to do this. Apple is also trying to do it, and I'm pretty sure every Tom, Dick and Harry is trying to do that. So the idea is they will not be limiting it, like, oh, you have to be here, no. And there will not be any system lock. And system lock simply means if you buy their hardware, it will not be like, okay, you can only utilize in this first. And they know for a fact that while they are making the first, while they are claiming this will be the future, they know for a fact every other company is also working behind it. So reality is either Facebook or some other company will take over it. So it's one of those things that it's not gonna may or may not happen. It's one of those things that will happen. Is question is when. So they know for a fact that locking the system is creating a very large amount of bad blood, quote unquote, and people are not happy with the fact that many people like literally got pissed off on their VR headsets. It's like, dude, what do you mean I have to log into Facebook in order to use that? So this time they are like, because public reputation matters if you are dealing with stock market, they are like, okay, no, hardware is independent, and third party subsystems should be also usable, meaning if you are like not happy with how NFT is working in Facebook's domain, you can utilize some other domain, or they are like working things out for that region, and privacy would be built in. Good joke. That's a good joke. And you can control content inflow. Now that's a dual-edged sword. Now controlling content inflow, that's why people are burning out from such a large domains like Facebook. They are like, hey, give me only few people, I can't manage like 700 or 10,000 friends, give me small. So like small meeting spaces, small virtual conference rooms, they're like trying to bring it down. Of course this will all happen into a larger virtual space, but in like you will have a illusion that you are controlling the small things. Now let's talk real about here. It's the end is here, basically kind of scenario. I'm not joking. I'm taking this as seriously as possible. This is the second worst thing I have seen. The first worst thing is basically Elon Musk's idea of brain link. Basically neural link, if it works out properly, you are literally decrypting free will. And that's one of those things that should not be decrypted. Like it will not end well for humanity. This takes that to a whole another level. Like that will destroy free will. This is like, oh, free will does not even matter. So first thing you have to understand, privacy is a joke in this sort of scenario, because many times people do not have the idea that companies are not buying and selling your data because they are evil. They are doing it, that's how they make money. That's how, like, think of it this way. How the heck do you think Google can give you 15 gigabytes of proper high grade storage space, email service that can handle millions of email? How do you think they are doing that? How they are getting the money for that? How they are renting physical hardware? It's not magic, it's a physical hardware somewhere. How the heck they are making sure that there is physical hardware? How they are paying the electric bill? How they are paying the hundreds and thousands of programmers that have to make, keep working at the back end to make sure that all those things stay up, do not fall apart. So for that reason, they have to sell your data. That's not optional, that's compulsory. Netflix can be like, hey dude, I'm directly running on subscription model, so I get it. Netflix does not have like a need to sell your data to outside party. They can be like taking your data internally, which they have to do for like serving you better. But like unless you are talking about paid services, everything else has to sell you. There is a whole saying that do not go for free things, because if it's free, that means you are the one that's being sold. So that's the reality. You have to understand that unless this sort of metaverse is like it's a paid service, yeah, it will not be privacy oriented. They will create an illusion of that, like how WhatsApp created the illusion. It's like, no, it's encrypted for third party, not for Facebook. Like Facebook can just like lol, and if Facebook creates it, so they're gonna analyze it and they're gonna market you ads based on that, and that's how they make their money. So fundamentally expecting that to work is like shows that most people do not understand that economics does not support it. And when economics does not support it, you have three layers of reality. First layer is physics, second layer is engineering, third layer is economics, and economics have power to overrule all top two. So that's the reality. So whenever people are talking about Web 3.0 will have absolute privacy, yeah, you're not gonna do it. Because again, let's assume you started to crack down on Amazon, you started to crack down on all these companies. They will simply start their services as in like service quality will go down, and then they're like, yeah, it's a paid service now, deal with it. It's like we are not making enough money, deal with it. So be very mindful of that. Then this will cause direct brain damage to children, because I can guarantee you, if you are around children, you know for a fact that modern children, especially basically children who are at the age of 10, let's just say, most of them, if you disconnect their mobile phone, or like let's say their mobile phone broke or something like that happened, they become very anxious, agitated, very unstable, quote unquote. And you will like, why? But you have to understand that childhood is the part of your life where your operating system is created. And if you understand people's childhood, you understand how they're gonna grow up to an adult. It's a known fact. Ask any psychiatrist, any psychologist. It's like, yeah, we know this. Like, this is duh. This is one of those things like, duh, that's how it works. Now, I am old enough where when I grew up, when I was on a train ride, mobile was not a thing. I did not even have headphone, nor Walkman, nothing. So it's like, I'm used to like, just sitting idle. It's like, that's it. This is all I have. I'm okay with that, because my operating system has a codex for that. It's like, hey, you are sitting idle. Okay, go to your imagination folder, open this file, and like, you have how I can entertain myself. But children who are born now, I'm horrified to see that kids who are like not even 5 years old, they have iPads, they have tablets. That level of interaction is burning their cores out, because their imagination core is not developing properly, because again, it does not need to develop, because you can see super high visual fidelity and details, rather than playing with three-dimensional models and like, forcing yourself to think and forcing yourself to imagine and developing yourself. You're just like, ta-da. That shortcut is crippling them. And I can guarantee you, like, many old people talk about, oh, like, dude, you are not addicted to social media, you can just turn it off. This is not an option for a kid who grew up on that. And I can guarantee you, you have seen at least one or two of them. And I'm telling you, it's like becoming a severe problem, not a magic, some people know it's a severe problem at this point in time. And this will take that and it's like, oh, lol, you thought that was a problem, allow me to show you hell. So let that sink in. This is severe brain damage. Like, take cocaine, directly inject into children's brain. It's really bad for them. It will make them very low resilience. And you have to understand that. Like, think of this, like when kids fall and they play around, they lose games, then all those things, it makes their character much stronger. Basically, their operating system. Oh, that could also happen. I could also lose. I can also get injured. I can do, like, all that thing is important for your goddamn operating system. When if you remove that, when you're like, oh, children try to play and they lost, they did not like it. They just put on their VR goggles and it's like, oh, orgasm. I do not mean that, like, from your brain point of view, that's what you are doing. It's like you're not directly getting the dopamine hit. It's like it will reduce your resiliency to a point where you are crippled before you even know it. Like, your body would be intact, but it will be crippled because your operating system is crippled. And loss of reality in terms of physical atrophy of whole body, because if all you are doing, because again, work is something that we do for hours on end. If leisures are also becoming something that you are going to do on hours on end, basically 18 hours that you are awake, all you are doing is sitting on a chair, like, or lying down in bed, because it will be far more comfortable for your spine, your body will atrophy. Like, it will be fundamentally becoming bad, as in, like, you could literally become so weak and fragile, you will not notice it, simply because all you are doing is like pooping and taking showers and buying some orders. You may not have noticed it, but like after 5-6 years, you'll be like, one bad day you fall through a stairs and you're like, your body's like, I'm out. You won't even know that, because that atrophy is very severe. And only few people will have the control of the whole world. Be mindful, right now we always have that, like, 1% that are controlling the world, but that number of 1% should be much huge. It should always be huge. As in, right now, let's say there are 10 million people who are controlling the world. If this comes to pass, only 1 million will control it, meaning the loss of that 9 million that are checking each other, that will be gone. That's really, really bad. And there is economy, there is whole ecosystems of things like architecture, because they show a video about architecture. Let's say instead of doing actual architecture, you are doing architecture in virtual space, and people, rather than, like, trying to build 3D printed houses and all that, just all they are doing is like, hey, just make an apartment where you have a toilet seat, and done, go home. But you don't need other than that, like, just have ventilation system, so your body is at a constant temperature. Like, why do you need furniture? It's like all you're gonna do is sit on your toilet throne. Like, it can degrade to that extent. And they are trying to, Facebook is trying to, it's like, think of it this way, like, that's why you need to quote unquote unplug, and Facebook is like, how about you stay plugged 24/7? So this is one of those things that is horrifyingly serious. And contrast between basically virtual world and real world will be brutal. For example, somebody during this presentation was talking about, like, can you imagine how sad it would be, like, if you're like, celebrating your birthday in VR and everybody's like awesome, thousands of people, everything, and then you remove your goggles and it's like, nobody's there at home, and somebody, like, which is a very valid point, is like, how it's any different than to me, because I can say that, like, many of you, if you're watching and you're a dude, there is a very good chance you do not have a loving relationship with a female person, or even with other man, or even very few people have that true luxury of saying, I have few good friends and I have loving and caring family. That's a very rare thing. I am lucky enough that I have friends part taken care of, but I can understand that when people say that, like, I don't have friends, even though they have hundreds of WhatsApp friends and all that, I understand that. Now imagine that right now you come home and you don't have that, like, amazing orgasming effect. Your brain is, down, dirty, it's like bit of depression. You can manage that because that's your state. It's like that, and some good days, a bit of up and down. Now VR to this would be this much contrast, and that contrast is dangerous for your brain. Your brain is like, why am opening that? That's the scary part. It's like if you watched Inception movie, there was a dialogue, it's like, these people do not come here to sleep, they come here to wake up. And that sort of thing will happen with this. It is tangibly scary, because if your real world is bad, you don't know it is bad because you do not have any contrast point. And when your real world is bad, you work towards it brick by brick. Heck, you can start taking, collecting coins. Like, I have a hobby of collecting coins, so you get that point. Like, people start to do things. You can adopt a dog, you can go to gym. People do things, and that makes them happy, that makes them healthy, that helps them grow. If you have a shortcut, why would you do that? So fundamentally, that's a very brutal destruction of adult mind. Children, the end, adult will also not able to manage it for long enough, and this creates a self-fulfilling echo chambers, because inherently you want to avoid things that stress you out, because if you are staying there 24 into 7, there is no world there. There is no, okay, I go outside of the office, I have this sort of problem, then I come home, I'm safe. It's not there. It's like that everything is available to you 24 into 7 into as long as you live. That's very brutal. You have to censor it, and the consequence of that is you can create a scenario as like, okay, all the people who do not want to deal with homeless people, I'm taking that joke from someone very serious, I've linked the video down below. It's like, just go into this. Flat earthers, oh god damn it, I still have to deal with flat earthers. It's like, I get that. It's like, how about like a whole section, a whole basically metaverse is like flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, or whatever have you. That will create a self-fulfilling prophecy of destruction of glue that binds the society. So this is second worst thing I have seen. Not even second, technically I would say, because while Neuralink could do those sort of thing, I could easily see that will take much longer than 15 years. This puppy can easily start to reach that level in 3 years. So this is like flat out. This is like end is here. It's like it's already on the way. It's like I can see it coming. So this is really horrifyingly scary. So this was my presentation on basically Facebook Metaverse. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please hit the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. And I would urge you to comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.